My partner declared at our friend's engagement celebration, no need to worry, I'd never let him pop the question, I deserve way better. Then she launched into a list of my shortcomings while everyone stood around awkwardly. I stayed silent and slipped out early. When she got home itching for a confrontation, she found bare wardrobes and a note from her landlord about the lease, which had always been in my name alone. By morning, my phone showed 74 frantic missed calls. I'm posting this on my main account because she doesn't know my Reddit handle, and frankly, I'm past caring if she sees it now. Last Saturday night flipped my world upside down. My girlfriend Lisa, 29, and I, 31, attended my best friend Tom's engagement party. We'd been together for 3 years, sharing her apartment for 2. I say her apartment because that's what everyone assumed, more on that later. The event was at Tom's parents' garden, with about 30 guests, fairy lights and champagne flutes stacked high. Everyone was dressed to impress, toasting Tom and his fiancée Sarah. She'd been sipping wine all evening and her voice gets loud when she's tipsy. I caught the end of her story as the crowd burst into laughter. Sarah's cousin pulled me into the circle, saying, "Lisa was just telling us about your awful camping trip last summer." And he just lay there snoring while I was practically sleeping on stones, Lisa said, rolling her eyes theatrically. "That's Alex for you, Mr. Everything's Fine when it's clearly not." I gave a strained smile. Lisa had been picking at me more lately, but usually behind closed doors. This public display was new. "When are you two tying the knot?" someone asked, nodding toward us. "You've been together almost as long as Tom and Sarah, right?" Before I could toss out our usual, "We're not rushing" line, Lisa scoffed into her wine glass. "Don't worry," she said loudly. "I'd never let him propose. I can do so much better." The group fell silent. "Come on," she went on, ignoring the awkwardness. "Alex is fine for now. Steady job, decent in the kitchen, but for the long haul? Marriage material? Please." She leaned in as if sharing a secret, but her voice carried. "He's so uninspired. It's exhausting. 3 years in the same job, no promotions. His paycheck's maxed out, and he's so dull. Always wanting to stay in, watching documentaries." I stood there, rooted, as she cataloged my flaws to her friends. "And his family? Total weirdos. His mom calls him like twice a week." She gave an exaggerated shudder. The group looked horrified. Tom caught my eye from across the lawn, clearly sensing trouble. "Anyway," Lisa finished, sipping her wine, "I'm keeping my options open. Mark from sales has been texting me, and he's on track to be a regional director." That was news to me. Sarah's cousin touched my arm softly. "Alex?" I forced a smile, set my untouched drink on a nearby table, and said, "I need some air." I walked out through the side gate, got in my car, and drove to our apartment. No yelling, no scene, just a quiet exit. See, Lisa wasn't the only one with options. 3 months earlier, I'd overheard her on the phone with her sister plotting her exit from our relationship. "I'll wait for bonus season," she'd said. "No sense leaving money behind." That night, I did some digging and found something curious. Despite everyone calling it Lisa's place, the lease was in my name alone. She'd moved into my apartment originally, but over time the story had shifted. I'd signed the lease, renewed it twice, and paid every rent check from my account. Legally, the place was mine. Instead of confronting her then, I started planning quietly. I found a new apartment, paid the deposit, set up mail forwarding, and cataloged my furniture. Most of it was mine, as Lisa spent her money on clothes and trips rather than practical things like sofas. Back at the apartment that night, I packed deliberately: clothes, important papers, sentimental items. 3 suitcases went into my car. I'd deal with the furniture later. Then I called our landlord, George. I explained I'd be ending the lease early, as allowed under Clause 16b, the early termination clause I'd negotiated. As the sole leaseholder, I had that right. I'd cover the 2-month penalty, no problem. "George, can you do me a favor?" I asked. "When Lisa gets home tonight, she'll be confused. Could you leave her a note explaining the lease situation? She seems to think it's her apartment." George, though puzzled, agreed to handle it professionally. I drove to my new place, a 1-bedroom I'd rented 3 weeks earlier, already partly set up with furniture deliveries I'd arranged. The future was now. Lisa got home at 1:38 a.m. I know because that's when the calls began. First confused, then furious, then desperate. I didn't pick up. Her texts went from "Where are you?" to "Where's all your stuff?" to "What's this list notice?" By morning, I had 74 missed calls and 31 texts. I blocked her number after saving them all. Evidence matters. 2 days later, Tom called. "Man, what went down? Lisa's telling everyone you ditched her, left her homeless." I laid it out calmly, the years of subtle jabs, the overheard exit plan, the public humiliation at the party, the lease reality. "Damn," Tom said. "That's actually kind of epic how you handled it. Clean break, no mess on your end." I chuckled. "How's Sarah's party cleanup going?" "Party was fine," he said, "but Lisa showed up at our place yesterday, freaking out, demanding to know where you moved." "What'd you say?" "That I don't know, which is true. Then Sarah told her to leave or we'd call the cops. Sarah's got your back, man." Lisa then showed up at my workplace, making a scene in the lobby. Security removed her, and my boss called me in. I showed him the texts, played a particularly unhinged voicemail. He nodded. "Take a few days off. We'll make sure she's not allowed up." That was 5 days ago. Since then, Lisa has 1. Made fake social media profiles to message me, blocked. 2. Contacted my mom, who never liked her and said, "I stand by my son's choices." And 3. Kept showing up at my usual coffee shop. I'm trying new ones. Number 4. Told mutual friends I cheated. Completely untrue. Mod 5. Left a tearful apology on my work. A voicemail saved for records. I worked. 6. Emailed that she's keeping the apartment. Legally impossible. Yesterday she got my new email, probably from a shared friend, and sent a long message claiming her party comments were a joke, that Mark meant nothing, that I'd overreacted to harmless remarks, and that she always saw a future with me. I responded with one attachment, an audio file of her exit timeline conversation from 3 months ago, which I'd recorded. No words in the email, just the file. It wasn't necessary, but I wanted her to know this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment choice. That was 26 hours ago. No reply since. I'm settling into my new place. Had lunch with Tom and Sarah yesterday. They're fully on my side. Started therapy, which is opening my eyes. Apparently, I'd been ignoring red flags because they crept up slowly. The weirdest part? I feel free. 3 years with someone who saw me as a temporary fix, a stepping stone to something better. Now I've found something better, self-worth. Update 10 days later. Thanks for the support and comments. A few updates worth sharing. The lease issue wrapped up as expected. George confirmed Lisa moved out after realizing she had no legal claim to the apartment. She argued her emotional investment and the fact that friends called it her place gave her rights. George just pointed to my signature on the documents. My mom called to say Lisa showed up at my parents' house 2 hours away, uninvited. Mom let her in, listened to her sob story, then said, "My son doesn't want contact with you. Respect that, or the next call is to the police." Mom texted later, "Never cared for her." Dad agrees. Parents with boundaries are gold. Surprisingly, I got an email from Mark, the sales guy Lisa mentioned. He had no clue she was in a relationship. She told him she was single. He apologized for his unwitting part and shared screenshots of their chats as proof. I thanked him for coming clean and wished him luck. Work's been supportive. Security measures are still in place, but Lisa's stopped trying to get in after being escorted out twice more. Several mutual friends reached out after hearing her version to get mine. Most backed me once they heard the full story. The few who sided with her, a handy way to weed out connections I don't need. For those asking about the furniture, I hired movers during a time I knew Lisa would be at work. They were done in 90 minutes, taking everything that was mine. I left behind gifts I'd given her and anything we bought together. Clean split. Therapy's been regular now. My therapist is helping me see patterns I overlooked, how Lisa slowly distanced me from certain friends, how her jokes at my expense normalized public digs, how she reframed the apartment as hers despite the facts. A common question in my DMs, was I planning this all along? Not at first. After hearing her exit plan, I started documenting and preparing contingencies, but I wasn't set on acting right away. The engagement party was just the moment that showed me and everyone else who she really was. Edit, woke up to tons of new comments. Quick answers to common questions. Yes, recording her exit timeline talk was legal in my state. One-party consent. No, I don't feel bad about the homeless claims. Lisa earns well, has family nearby, and per mutual friends moved in with her sister right away. She was never in real danger. Some say I was too composed, that this must be fake. When someone shows their true colors, believing them the first time saves you grief. I'd already grieved the relationship during those 3 months of planning. By the party, I was emotionally done, just waiting for proof I wasn't overreacting. She gave that proof to 30 witnesses. To clarify the timeline, I signed the new lease 3 weeks before the party, but have been apartment hunting for 2 months. Furniture deliveries were set with flexible dates, which I adjusted after moving out. For those worried about my future, I'm doing better than I expected. Started hiking on weekends, something Lisa called pointless dirt walking. Reconnected with friends I saw less during the relationship. Even had a casual coffee date yesterday. Nothing heavy, just a reminder of what respectful conversation feels like. Final note, someone asked if 3 years was too much to throw away over one night. It wasn't one night. It was a pattern exposed in one crystal clear moment. Sometimes truth whispers, sometimes it shouts at your best friend's engagement party. Either way, when it speaks, you listen.